How's it going, gamers? I've recently gotten very legitimate, and not to be sarcastic, complaints about my lighting and audio quality. Well, we can't all be Linus Tech Tips. I'm just kidding. But no. A few minor adjustments. I hope it helps. Today, another simple topic. I just want to talk to you about investing when you're young. Again, none of this is financial advice. I'm obviously not an expert, in case you didn't catch on to that little hint yet. And you should seek professional advice, not to sound like a broken record. But this is basically an account of what I did or what I would do if I were able to be back in that sort of scenario of not really having many options because you're either not 18, you don't have the freedoms of an independent adult, a combination of a variety of factors. So a lot of this is going to sound kind of corny, but it really matters a lot. And you want to get on a grind. Get on a grind. And I'm not talking about one-liners. I just mean get a job that pays okay. If it's seasonal work and it pays more, get some seasonal work. You don't necessarily need something tough. It's a good resume builder. For example, places like Target hire seasonally and they pay more than minimum wage for that. Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out, they pay a little bit more than most people, as long as you have a little bit of criteria met for them, right? Like you're uppity, you're energetic, you're willing to do all this work, you participate in extracurriculars. But moral of the story is get a job that pays you pretty well. Doesn't really matter what it is. Try to get the best hours you can and build up some wealth that way. Build up a savings. To do that, you need to open a joint account with your parents. I used Bank of America because for students, they waive all the fees. It's beautiful. And they do that up until you're in your early 20s if you go to college. Fairly epic. So that's what I went ahead and did. Bank of America. Fairly, at the time of release, they're doing the same thing. I still use it myself, and I probably will for a while. It's pretty nice in-person bank. It's kind of hard to beat. But once you get a good amount of money going, you've made the joint account with your parents. Well, joint account, they kind of make an account for you, but their name is on it because they're legal adults, competent parties is what they call it. But what you want to do after that, and then once you set up, I recommend direct deposit with your employer if that's an option. If not, just make sure it gets in your bank account as soon as possible. But you got your bank account, you got your source of income. Now, this is going to sound kind of corny, but the main investment I would make is in yourself, in your education, and in building your habits. Not sponsored, so I'm not going to mention any names yet, but get an audiobook service that has a lot of titles if you don't have a lot of time. Otherwise, sitting down with physical books is probably cheaper, believe it or not. And helps build the discipline of you sitting down and just getting to work at something. But I recommend an audiobook because you can do a lot of monotonous work. You can build healthy habits like fitness, and you can practice driving. Well, no, not practice driving. Don't drive. Listen to audiobooks if you're young or at all. I might just cut that out. Bruh. All right. Anyway, audiobooks, wonderful. You can do it while you clean, cook, exercise. That's what I should have said initially. And teach yourselves about finance. Personal recommendations I have, this is investments in yourself. And this is because you can't invest a lot of capital in the stock market with a lower paying job and not that high hours or benefits or employer matches. But to recoup, get your bank account, you're making money at a job, well now you're investing in yourself with books, audiobooks specifically, so that you get to know your knowledge base and finances better, and you're prepped for when you're 18. And you can open all these accounts with like Robinhood or Webull or whatever, and start throwing your money out in GM and index funds and dividends and all that, and all the fancy schmancy schmuss that people get into these days and really swoon over, myself included. But yeah, you want to go for that. And books I recommend, they're kind of heavy reads, or listens, I guess, is Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. Very, very intuitive book. Beautiful. It's a masterpiece, in my opinion. And Atomic Habits by James Clear, for the sake of developing yourself. Actually, personally, I think you should listen to Atomic Habits by James Clear first, a few times, so that you can really get an idea of how you can do all these things, how you can develop these healthy habits with yourself and disciplines. without even really having to try. It's kind of like using your own psychology of your mind against itself, if that makes sense. It teaches you about why bad habits are formed and how you can use that same psychology to make good habits that really stick, you know? I love it to death. I only got hold of that recently, but yeah. Atomic Habits by James Clear, Money Master the Game. Those are just off the top of my head. And I would also recommend that if you can't get an audiobook version of this, it's definitely worth sitting down. It is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Guilty, myself, have not finished that book. However, I'm in the process of it. I'm really going for it because that thing is, it's decades old, but it's like a fine wine. It just gets better, always relevant. But again, get a bank account, get a job, fund your self-education, reinvest into yourself. And once you get to the point where you're 18, you can really get grinding out. And if you're already 18 and you don't really know what to do because you're young and fresh and still starting it, I'd try out Robinhood if you want to invest in the stock market. Robinhood is definitely the most user-friendly, easy-to-use platform, no fees. It's beautiful. If you're kind of a stock market geek, I'd recommend Webull over Robinhood. Again, all of these are personal recommendations, not financial advice. So I'll get the hang of that disclaimer soon enough. But Robinhood, once you're 18, go ahead, start an account, fund an account, set up automatic payments for it that aren't that high. And this is more so you can get a taste for the markets rather than necessarily build a huge amount of wealth. Because when you're at this age, your tax bracket's pretty low and you can afford to make these kinds of risks and get your hands wet, dirty, however you want to call it, in the stock market without having to worry about racks, I guess is what they call it. Instead, it's just 10s, 20s, 50s, 100s, 200s. But make sure you get that set up just to get a taste for it. But more importantly, set up a high interest savings account and put more into that than the investment portfolio. High interest banks include, and this one seems to be the most consistent, Ally Bank is what I'm going to use, or what I'm using right now. Betterment sometimes has better rates. It's an online, both of these are completely online banks as far as I know. Betterment sometimes has higher interest rates, but they're a little bit less consistent. And let's see. Discover Bank actually pays you fairly well. I know Discover offers good credit cards as well. And that's another thing we'll get into is credit. That deserves videos and videos of its own. But basic overview, you want to get a bank account, get a job, make sure it's going straight into, obviously, that bank account. Invest in yourself, and this is sort of list of priorities. You want to get fundamentals with a bank account so that your money can go somewhere and move places, and a job so that you can have the money, and invest in yourself so you know how to use the money. With those books, Atomic Habits, James Clear, Tony Robbins, Money Master the Game, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I forgot who wrote it. My apologies. I'll put it in the description because I love you guys to death, but it's going to be the first hit more than likely if you search for it. And then once you get there, get your hands dirty. Make sure you have a savings account created, high interest, so that you fight inflation, which is about averages 2% a year historically. You don't want to be losing money just by holding money. And you probably won't get 2%, but you want something that's fighting inflation and not just sitting there. So then you can go to places like Ally Bank and Betterment. And then once you get those things established, make sure you get your hands dirty in the stock market because you want to get to know the basics with that. You want to know terminology, do some more research with it. I'll try to do some more videos on it and help you guys out as much as I can. And really just get some experience. Well, the risk isn't that high. And yeah, kind of verse yourself in, teach yourself how to use money before you have this massive amount of it, and anxiety's high, and all these bills have to be paid if they don't have to be paid already, you know. And well, you're young and can really grind out those hours at the high intensity jobs. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for today, I think. Well, There was a video I filmed before this as a test video. That's right, for lighting. And I will be releasing that at 10 million subscribers. Mark my words, all right? I love you guys to death. I love you, specifically you. And see you in the next one. All right, guys, I am also taking general suggestions because I don't really know what I'm doing. Do you want to see the hair? So you know that I'm doing these uploads daily and not pre-recording. I think you should at least, but at least for a snippet. But I can also just not wear the hat if you like the in denial balding person sort of look, you know what I mean? But anyway, guys, I think that's it. Yeah, just leave comments, suggestions. I'm gonna respond to every single one of them because I love you guys a lot. Again, I love you, specifically you. And I'm gonna kiss it a little lighter this time because I really messed the mic up. But, yep. Also, a little disclaimer to the disclaimer. When I say fees, I mean like ridiculous fees, like maintenance fees and stuff like that. Not all fees blanket. Just in case. All right. Peace out, guys. See you in the next one.